It's Amanda again. Today's day 4 actually, but I was out and about yesterday. I haven't really journaled about this yet. Today my reflections are about my relationship with my mom and the inevitability of being like her. One of the reasons I've always known this about how I eat and binge eating and dieting and yo-yo weight and a ton of other things about my life, that they have followed the model and pattern of my mom. And that has really freaking scared me. Being like my mom has always been such a deep and yet always on the surface fear. Always. Like, I know it exists, but it is so deeply rooted, and yet it's always so obviously there. It's one of the reasons why, I did so many things purposely the opposite of how she did them. She never graduated from college, but she kept going back to college. And so for me, graduating for college was bumpy. I didn't know I would ever do it. And when I did it, I was like, okay, this means I'm not like my mom. And having a really career, that was another example of like, okay, I'm not going to be like my mom. She got married many times, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to just like run to a man. So I purposely did the opposite of like what she did in her relationships. And yet, if I were really thinking about it or talking about it in therapy, I knew that I was still continuing out a lot of her patterns. And one of the big ones was like her weight fluctuations, how she dealt with food, always being on a diet, even though, she passed last year, but as she was dying, she was still upset at her size and that she couldn't lose weight. And I was just like, it really doesn't matter. Who cares? And why do you? It was just really sad. And when she died, I was with her, and I remember saying, like, Mom, I was so like you. And I've always been afraid of being like you. There's a lot of things I appreciate about you. And I can be like you and not be you. Like, just because I'm similar to you doesn't mean I do the same things that you do, or I have the same experiences that you do. So I had that moment of clarity when she was dying. And then just earlier when I was writing about food, it's so deeply patterned in me because from a very young age, it was something I did with my mom. A lot of my patterns of how I treat and relate to food and eat and use food for comfort, that's what my mom did. And I would do it with her. Like, I was always her little companion. I was really parentified as a child. I was like her emotional teddy bear. She always turned to me, even as a child, as her comfort and caretaker. It made me so angry because I felt like constantly, even as an adult, I would feel so guilty that I didn't want to spend time with her, because spending time with her was not smothering in the sense that not smothering in the sense of like she's telling me what to do, but smothering in the sense of like, I am there for her only, and she was never there for me. And perhaps if some of you have like a narcissistic mom, you can relate. I'm glossing over huge things. I'm just giving you like the basic points of essentially how I felt towards her and with her. I really struggled to have a relationship as an adult with her because I didn't want to be close with her, because I knew how like enmeshed she and I could get. I couldn't really be close to her because it was really unsafe. Like, there was this weird competition between how we looked and what we did and how smart I was or what she did or how creative and interesting she was versus me. And I wasn't in competition with her. Let's just put it that way. An example of this would be, she would never comment on if I lost weight, but she would always comment if I gained weight. It seemed that she would almost take delight if I experienced a heartache or a breakup, and she would bring it up for years afterwards, to the point where I never talked to her about my relationships unless it was very, very serious. And I never talked to her about my weight or how I viewed my body or if I was on a diet. I never wanted to talk to her about it because she wasn't talking to me as her daughter. She was talking to me as like some avatar of herself. All this to say, I've always had this like, I cannot not be like her. This has been something I believed, and I'm still in the midst of believing it. It is really unconsciously, subconsciously, sometimes I don't know the difference, running the show and just there. And I was writing in my journal about this, and I was just like, oh shit. And then I took a shower. And I was like, I had to like it was just so claustrophobic. I had to like do something different. I had to be in a different physical environment to think about it, which is why I took a shower. I've believed it's inevitable that I'm just like my mom and that I'll never be able to change the way I interact with food and that this is how I have to be. Is that true? Is it true that I'm just like my mom, that I'm cursed to be exactly like she is or she was? No, it's not true at all. It's absolutely, fundamentally not true. And yet I've believed it as if it were true, as if it were this unquestioned thing in my life. And it's simply not true. I can change my life at any point. I get to do that. I have choices. And it is fundamentally not an inevitability that I'm exactly like my mom. I no longer require this thinking. Like, it's just a really old thought. And now that it's risen to the surface, I'm just like, nah, I'm my own person. I'm totally, totally my own person. I might be similar to my mother, might be like her, might have many of her traits and characteristics, but I am not her. And I am not doomed or cursed to do what she did, to be like she was, to experience her life. In the shower, I was like literally looking at the wall. There's a green shower wall in the shower, and the water was, beating up on the wall, and I thought, she's never seen this. I'm looking at this with my eyes. She's never been here. She's never seen this. She has not lived my life. And I have not lived hers. I am not seeing this wall as her. Like, I'm my own person. It is not an inevitability. It is not a curse. I am completely different. There are similarities. And yet I am completely, autonomously my own sovereign being. I'm not her. It was just really like awesome and freeing. Like, I'm not her. I'm like her. I'm not her. I don't have to do the things that she's done. How old has this thought been? How old has this deeply rooted belief been? It's just like, it's just one more thing I'm liberating myself on in this path of becoming a former binge eater. Like, no, I don't need to have this issue with food like she did. Just because I was raised to do it. I was shown how to do it. I was her companion while she did it. I would eat a half gallon of ice cream with her every night. As a kid, who does that to their kid? Anyway, I don't have to keep doing that. That was how I was raised, but I'm now my own adult. I'm 45 years old. I get to do whatever I want. This is my life. This is not her life. I am not her. It is not an inevitability. Isn't that great? I don't know. These are my thoughts for today. Okay. Bye.